What made you decide to come to Taiwan and live?
Cute girl.
Hello. This is Jan. We are in Taiwan. I am your Couchsurfer. You've been living in Taiwan for 3 months. You're originally from
Slovakia.
But you grew up in
Czech Republic.
What made you decide to come to Taiwan and live after you have been living in Finland for 5 years?
I was bored in Finland and wanted something different. I wanted to go to Asia. Taiwan turned out to be the most comfortable place in the region. It's the most convenient, feels the safest.
And with the best people in Asia. Is that true?
Cute girl.
Thank you, yeah!
I didn't move to Taiwan because I think it's the best country to live in, but because it's interesting, convenient and new.
How long do you plan to stay here actually?
I would like to aim for the permanent residency, which I can get after 3 years.
Give me 1 or 2 things, your favorite things in Taiwan, except cute girls.
Cute girls are a good reason. I like the night markets.
Me too.
And everything, 7-Eleven.
Why? Don't you have convenience store in Europe?
No, they are closed all the time.
They're closed all the time.
No, they close at like 10 p.m.
Yeah, and 7-Eleven here, they open 24 hours.
Yeah, they never close.
You can do so many things here. You can pay your bill, buy coffee, buy food. What surprised you in Taiwan?
What was really frustrating was opening a bank account. I got rejected multiple times and I had to bring more documents. They kept throwing really absurd reasons at me and then I had to explain to them how stupid the reasons are, and then like they were like, oh yeah, that actually makes sense. They tell me I should go to a different bank because my landlord uses the bank. Why? I need to pay other things too, how does it matter? They're like thinking for 10 seconds, like, yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah, they also had to talk to managers. There were 4 of them surrounding me and they all kept asking weird questions, and I had to give them phone number of my friend in Thailand. They called the girl and she had to explain to them that I'm actually a real person.
I don't know, but maybe the bank were afraid we were using the bank account to do money laundry. I don't know, because we are foreigners. If you compare to Taiwan, what things do you miss the most in Czech and Finland?
One thing I appreciate about Finland that I miss here is how organized it is, how expected it is from everybody to speak English. In here it's not a thing, and the English service is sparse and sometimes it's with extra fees attached. It makes things a little more difficult. Yeah, in terms of living, I think I will miss the calmness of Europe. In Finland, it is the norm to be quiet, to give everybody space, and to not feel awkward if you don't talk. And also there is just less of the crowding problem. At least in Taiwan, the traffic is organized compared to other Southeast Asian countries. At the same time, there are a lot of scooters and cars.
Can you tell us the difference between Taiwan, Finland, and Czech about social distance?
That's a funny one, because in Finland, the social distancing means staying far apart from strangers. But what I've noticed about Finns, that the friends like to be close and they like to hug and touch each other. They are okay to be close to strangers on the streets when they bump to each other, but then the friends don't hug.
Depends.
Yeah.
For example, me and my friends, because we don't see each other for a long time, and then we will hug when we say bye and say hi. On the social media or books or news about Finnish, they like to have a long distance with people. For example, if we sit like this, it's already too near.
I think this really depends on how close you are, because in my experience, I have some Finnish friends and it is fine to sit close, but I would say Finns are very sensitive to be close to strangers. Let's say in a bus, you don't sit next to somebody. But of course, some Finns, they are the stereotypical Finns who don't like to be close. But in my experience, it's not so strict. The behavior, it can feel like everybody's distant. Even though they're friendly and polite, they're distant.
What about Czech, if you compare to Finnish?
In Czech Republic, it was more common to meet friends more often and to just go out more often. In Finland, I had some friends that I haven't seen more than a few times a year, and they still consider it normal.
Okay, but do you consider that a friend if you don't see each other a few times in a year? Maybe just someone you know?
I think in Finland, that's a friend.
Oh, the definition is very different.
Yeah.
But when I ask AI the question, Czech is more getting close to people, to friends, than Finnish. Like more passionate, if you want to compare.
A little more, but it is still a Slavic country with all the Slavic cultural stereotypes. It is still this very direct and, in a way, a rude behavior if you look at it from outside.
Europeans usually are more direct if you compare to Asians. Is this a problem for you when you travel in Asia or even in Taiwan, when people, they try to be nice to you and they need to go circle and circle and circle around and finally you get your answer?
It has been a little bit of an issue for me with friends because sometimes it's hard for me to know if they want to say no or if they just are undecided.
Yes, you're right. I have this as well. Yeah.
It has happened. And a few times I noticed that probably what they are trying to tell me is that I should stop doing something, but they were afraid to tell me. I noticed in Japan when I was
Japan is the worst.
In hostels and in restaurants, sometimes I would say something very directly when I was unhappy, and then I would notice that the staff was really embarrassed suddenly because I told them directly that I didn't like something.
That's Japanese culture.
Yeah.
In Hong Kong now, it depends. Sometimes I would be very, very direct. Yeah, because if I don't be direct, they will not know I am actually saying no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just keep insisting. So sometimes people see me rude, but I just want to save time.
If you like this video or if you like joy, like or comment.
Thank you! Did you experience the Finnish sauna? Men and women being naked in the same room?
I did go to the traditional one. In modern Finland, in the public saunas, they are usually split and separated. The one I went to, it was more in the north of Finland. I guess it is more acceptable and I don't mind, I don't care. I only experienced it once and then all the other times it was either with swimming suits or separated.
What is Czech famous for?
Beer and hockey, ice hockey.
Ice hockey? Oh, I really didn't know about that.
At least in Europe, I think the Czech national team is very famous. Czech and Finnish, actually. They usually get to the finals and then they face each other.
In Nordic countries, famous for the work-life balance. Do you feel any difference when you work in Finland?
I worked in international IT companies, which are very similar in the West. So there was not much difference in Finland. And the culture was very flat, there was not much hierarchy. Everybody was encouraged to be direct, to bring ideas, and everybody was given a lot of autonomy. And I think that is the same across the IT fields everywhere in the West.
What about Czech in general? If you don't work in an international company, do you think it's the same or better or worse? Because in my stereotype, it's a little bit worse than Finland.
I think overall it's worse, mostly because at least the older generation of Czechs, they will still have the communist mindset from the previous era. The expectations that you need to control everybody and everybody will steal and cheat if you don't watch them.
It's kind of like Asian mindset.
In the Slavic context, it comes from the years of the Soviets because you had to cheat to survive in that system. But these days I think it's different. In that age, what you have to do is to never express your opinion freely because you get punished for it, but then still behave in a way that benefits you, even though you cannot show it. I think it's similar to how operates these days because it's still this like politically communist system where the boss is always right. Like even though he is not right, you have to agree even though you don't agree. I think maybe the root reason is different because in Asia it's given culturally because you are supposed to respect the older person, right? But in the politically communist system, it comes out of fear of being punished.
Would you consider you're more Finnish or Czech?
Just based on the fact I grew up in Czech Republic, I guess more Czech, but I don't feel like I belong anywhere, so neither.
If you go back to Czech and visit your family and friends, do you have any cultural shock there?
No, the only difference I notice is talking to my old friends who don't travel and how close-minded they can be about things that I consider normal now because I've seen more things.
You see a lot of things and then somehow when you interact with people who don't use Couchsurfing, you just feel they should see more things.
Yeah, go travel somewhere.
Yeah, that's why I say people in Couchsurfing are more interesting. What's your favorite thing in Finland?
The accessibility of saunas everywhere and metal music scene. I got much more opportunity to see them live in Finland because I lived very close to several metal venues that had these bands playing a lot.
3 words to describe Taiwan.
Cute, friendly, hot.
We wear like summer right now, but people around us actually they wear winter clothes already. 3 words to describe Finland.
Cold.
Gold?
Cold.
Oh, cold.
Impressive.
Because of the weather?
The winters, they are not just cold, but they are very dark and there is no sun. So even the day, it's still cloudy for 6 months. The culture is also cold.
3 words to describe Czech.
I would say beer. It's the
Beer,
keyword.
yeah, beer.
And the fried cheese for sure.
Thank you for sharing your experience, and I hope you enjoy your life in Taiwan.
Thank you, I will do my best.
Maybe you can be a permanent resident after 3 years. What do you think about the social distance? In your experience, do you think it's really true? Finnish are very distant and Czech are distant and Taiwanese or Asians, they are very passionate? Bye bye.
Bye.